Hello and welcome everyone to another Albion Online Dev Talk. Today we finally get to talk about the all-new corrupted dungeons that are coming with the Rise of Avalon update. These corrupted dungeons are going to answer the call that many of you made asking for more solo PvE and PvP content to be added to Albion Online. But what are they exactly and how do they work? To explain that, I'll best get started at the beginning. To find a corrupted dungeon, you'll need to explore the open world and find a corrupted dungeon entrance. These spawn in a similar way to regular solo randomized dungeons, but they look quite sinister, even from the outside. When entering a corrupted dungeon, you'll have to make a choice about the difficulty level you want to play. There are 3 levels of difficulty. Hunter difficulty allows you to play the corrupted dungeons with tuned down rewards, but without full loot PvP and relatively low item power soft cap. This is a good difficulty for anyone learning the basics of 1 versus 1 PvP in Albion. Stalker difficulty follows the full loot PvP rules with significantly higher rewards, but still a low item power soft cap. This is a good level for veteran PvP players. Slayer difficulty, finally, has even further increased rewards, a bigger PvE challenge, and a much higher item power soft cap. This is aimed at the elite level advanced players. When you've chosen the difficulty level that you want and you've entered the dungeon, you'll find yourself in a place infested with demons and corrupted creatures. To complete this dungeon, you'll have to begin cleansing the place of these creatures, and each creature slain will award you infamy points. Different enemies will yield different amounts of infamy depending on their strength and difficulty. When you've collected enough infamy points, the final boss in the dungeon appears, and by defeating it, you can lay claim to the rewards in his chest and the rewards of the dungeon. In addition, the infamy gained will remain with you, showing your place in the infamy rankings, as well as permanently boosting your rewards earned in corrupted dungeons. Finally, at the end of a dungeon run, a portal to another corrupted dungeon appears and allows you to start another dungeon right away. Or you can choose to leave the dungeon and take your loot back to the city. So how does the PvP come in? Well, in every corrupted dungeon there is a demonic shrine. A player approaching this shrine can use it to sign themselves up to invade other players. Once signed up, the game will regularly check their invasion chance and look for a potential invasion target. If such a target is found, the invading player will be pulled from their dungeon into another player's dungeon. The defending player now has 2 options. They can rally and fight the invader, or they can try to destroy the demonic shards which also appeared in their dungeon along with the invader. If they succeed in destroying enough of these shards, the invader is banished and the defender can continue playing their regular dungeon on their own. If either player kills the other, the victim loses some of their infamy and the killer gains some of it. In this way, it allows players to gain a very high infamy number and rise in the ranks for their own prominence, and for significant boosts to future dungeon rewards. To add tactics and depth to these encounters, there are a number of features in the dungeon that players can use to try to outsmart their opponents. For example, in the corrupted dungeons, enemy NPC positions are marked on the minimap, allowing you to guess your opponent's position based on the creatures they've already slain. There are also Watcher demons, which patrol the path of this dungeon and who will mark any player they encounter on the minimap for their opponent to see. Finally, there are a large number of different traps and hazards in the dungeon, which you will need to learn to avoid or actively use to outsmart and defeat your opponent. As you can see, there is a lot to this feature, and I hope you're now looking forward to exploring and fighting in the corrupted dungeon when the Rise of Avalon update launches. You can also look forward to our next Dev Talk, in which we'll go in depth with the Roads of Avalon and their impact on the game world of Albion Online.